Coming up on Network Africa. Alleged election fraud. Cameroonian opposition candidates appeal at the Constitutional Court over alleged election fraud. The African Union calls for peace talks in Comoros. And a United States airstrike kills 60 Al-Shabaab militants in Somalia. Hello and welcome to Network Africa. I'm Anne Nwawado. We begin in Cameroon, where opposition candidates who say last week's presidential election was marred by fraud, they have had their appeals heard at the country's Constitutional Council. Opposition leader of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, Maurice Kamto, who declared victory shortly after the vote without providing actual figures, asked the court to cancel results in 7 regions in Cameroon. Candidates Joshua Ossi and Cabral Libby have also asked the results to be cancelled and election to be rerun. The Constitutional Council has at most 6 days to decide on the petitions and to declare the results by the 22nd of October at the latest. Now let's get more perspective on this story from African Affairs analyst Declan Ihekare. Good to have you on the program. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, do you think the opposition candidates have done the right thing by going to court?
Yeah, in a normal democratic plan, what they have done is the best, to have approached the court, to seek for a redress where there is a need for a redress. But we're very much aware of the fact that in our setting in Africa here, the opposition always find it difficult to get redress at the real place, which is the court we have approached now. And that is because of the power of the incumbency, where you have people who are there who doesn't want to leave office. So they will do everything possible, judiciary possible, humanly possible, to make sure that they hold to power. So you should not be surprised that there could be manipulation even at the judicial level that might end up denying the opposition their right if actually they won the election.
But talking about those who want to hold power, the electoral umpire has said, and even the government spokesman has denied any allegation of fraud. Why do you think that every time in Africa, election irregularities are common?
Yeah, it's always common because, one, you find out a situation where a lot of people who are in governance today in Africa see it as a show-off and not as a service to humanity, not as a service to the citizenry. Show-off in the sense that they feel if they are there, they are above every other person, they are untouchable. They can amass as much wealth as they want. They can do anything they feel that's necessary that they can do. But they have forgotten that there's always an end to everything. And they could be there for so many years as president or as anything, but there's always a terminal date which they are not in control of. So that sit-tight syndrome and that winner takes it all syndrome leads to, manipulations here and there, electoral fraud all the time in Africa setting.
All right. It's sounding like deja vu right now. If we remember Raila Odinga of Kenya, now opposition candidate Maurice Kamto has declared victory shortly after the election and without figures. How can that even happen?
Yeah. What he did was quite unfortunate. He shouldn't have done that. I think what he was trying to do was to call out the people for protest, which might lead to civil war. And for me, that was totally wrong of him to have done. But we shouldn't forget the fact that the person in power now, Biya has been there for 36 years thereabout, and this is the 7th time he's approaching, to also become president in Cameroon. But I'll give it to him because the constitution allows it gives him such room to contest and recontest as many times as he wants to. But the thing is this, has he been able to win the heart of the people in Cameroon? Has he been able to satisfy the yearnings of every Cameroonian? The answer is no. We're very much aware of the crisis here and there in Cameroon today. What has he been able to do to make sure that there's calm in that country? We're only interested in going back, becoming president. Like I said earlier, there's always a terminal date, and that could be dead. And you can't contest that with God.
Exactly. So you talked about the president incumbent, Paul Biya. Yeah. Do you see him ruling for life?
Of course.
He's 85 years old already.
Of course, he has already ruled for life. For him to have ruled for 36 years, and he is about ruling for another 7 years. Sure. That's enough. That we can call that
almost the whole life.
A whole life. He has been there. And don't forget, in Africa, even when you vacate seat as president or as a governor, there are certain entitlements that you're benefiting or that you're going to benefit. And that keeps him all through his generation and generation unborn of Paul Biya, and it's quite unfortunate that it happens in Africa, and we're yet to learn from the civilized society where they practice democracy. And I always say we have not got to a level of democratic setting in Africa. We're still trying to get there. Yeah. What we practice is what I call civil rule and not democracy.
But I hope we get there
I believe so too.
All right, thank you very much. African Affairs Analyst Declan Ihakari, thank you for your time on Network Africa. The African Union is calling for an urgent resumption of peace talks in Comoros, where a political crisis has already turned violent. At least 2 people are reported to have been killed during clashes between security forces and armed opposition protesters in the island of Anjouan. The chairperson of the AU Commission, Musa Faki Hamad, has called on politicians to put the interests of the country above all other considerations. The crisis began with July's constitutional referendum, which ended the rotation of the presidency between the 3 main islands. The opposition boycotted the vote, which they saw as an illegal power grab by President Azali Assoumani, who can now run for office again.